He goes on to say, after all, naturalists must believe, as Dennett says, an impersonal, unreflective, robotic, mindless little scrap of molecular machinery is the ultimate basis for all the agency and hence meaning and hence consciousness in the universe. So those are big things. How did our brains come about so that we can have kind of superior thought of thinking of where's our place in the universe, the big questions in life.
Yeah.
How did that arise? If we're just here to continue the species, how come we're not only thinking of that? How did we come to try and find meaning? And people have different forms of meaning, and then also agency. How do we just act? And there's plenty of people out there who have this understanding of, well, maybe we are all determined, maybe we are in the matrix, and so we're trying to have understand where those three come from. So he goes on to say, but even if we didn't go this far, unguided evolution is still hard for most people to believe.
Yeah, so he makes a contrast between, let's say evolution is the explanation. Well, okay, that's fine, and we've gotten now from, we don't have a good explanation for how it started, but let's say, that evolution is an explanation. Well, maybe a plausible story would be guided evolution, right? Where you had a designer that guided the evolutionary process. The thing that's difficult, he's questioning here, is unguided evolution.
Right.
That's hard to believe.
Right. So if you have a God, and let's say evolution is true, he's making the jukes, he's making the jives, but unguided, it's just random chance. It's hopefully, the fish with legs comes out of the ocean and meets another fish with legs that comes out of the ocean at the same spot. They're able to reproduce. They like each other.
Which has to be there.
Yeah, the one fish has gotten the box of candy and everything like that. And then they have children that reproduce. And then, within that pairing, hopefully there's more, so you can add genetic diversity in there. I mean, you can really take this, and that's just for one species. We're not talking about every single
thousands and thousands of millions.
Yeah. But with a theistic viewpoint, that seems a little bit easier because you have an intelligence outside that has written the code. And so, of course, the code maker can make the computer program do what it wants, or can set it up so that it works properly. So that's what he's saying.
Yeah. So then, why is unguided evolution hard for most people to believe?
Yeah. So he really brings up two main points. So Nagel, who is just a fantastic writer in this and makes some really great points. He says that skepticism is not based on religious belief or any belief in a definite alternative. It is the belief that the available scientific evidence, in spite of consensus of scientific opinion, does not, in this matter, rationally require us to subordinate the incredulity of common sense. Incredulity being the state of being of being unable or unwilling to believe someone.
So it's incredible.
Really hard to believe it.
Yeah. The common sense wise, common sense tells us, wait a minute, so all of this stuff happens by accident over and over and over again? Come on, right? Yep. That's kind of incredible.
Tornadoes in the junkyard, and many tornadoes in many junkyards, and all of that. Again, this isn't even the initial starting point. This is afterwards.
After it's gotten started. Yeah. So incredulity is what he calls it.
Incredulity is the one. Yeah. And then Nagel goes on to say that it is also seems highly improbable that life as we know it is the result of a sequence of physical accidents together with the mechanisms of natural selection. We expect to abandon this naive response, not in favor of a fully worked out physical chemical explanation, but in favor of an alternative. Something better has to come along because this seems really hard to believe.
Yeah.
So what is lacking, to my knowledge, is a credible argument that the story has a non-negligible probability of being true. Mm-hmm. So again, if you talk about probabilities, for an event to occur, probabilities come about? So what's the probability of me getting heads on every coin flip? Well, it's always going to be 50-50, unless if I skew the data. So 50-50,
or the coin.
Yeah, exactly. But if I'm going to add every single bit of species and speciation and diversity and also all the cataclysms that happen, and we still survive to this day with functioning good things, beings that survive, it seems like all those probabilities added up together equals a big fat zero.
Yeah.
So it's incredulity and implausible. So it's really hard to believe, and it seems like the possibility of it happening is almost zero.
Yeah. And he ends by saying, so it isn't at all clear that evolution is anything more than a sketch of a theory, right? And even then it's just he says a suggestive sketch, right?
And so too, I think this is one where it seems people want to put so much emphasis on evolution being the case because the alternative theory is belief in a higher being, or there's no other third option.
Design,
really.
right?
Yeah.
So it's either design or accident.
You can always take a step back and say aliens with pansperma.
Of course, but that's kind of design.
Yeah, but you're just because
we have an intelligence.
Where did the aliens come from?
Yeah,
and really, evolutionists believe that evolution, if it occurs at all anywhere else in the universe, occurs exactly or pretty much exactly how it happens here. I don't know how you can say that other than the fact that they themselves admit that it's so rare, it's so impossible that the fact that it happens here, this was what Carl Sagan was talking about, of, if there's so much space out there, it seems hard to believe that that life would be out there, but if it did, it would look somewhat similar to us.